everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for September 27th. I'm your host, Armstrong, and I'm here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 26 live feeds. It was day 73 in the house, and there was a double eviction. There was new HOH after the double eviction, and there's plans for this final 5 week. And with me to talk through it all is Pooya. How you doing, Pooya?
I'm doing well. Feel a bit of a case of the deja vu here, given where we are.
Little bit.
Little bit.
One of the downsides of double evictions is that you can occasionally find yourself under the same power structure 2 weeks in a row. But we'll talk about it. Of course, when we last left you yesterday, the layout was a little different, right? MJ was the HOH. Leah was up on the block against Angela. And what we had talked about is that Cam had convinced Chelsea that cutting MJ in the double eviction was the thing to do. Is that the thing to do for Chelsea? No, but she seemed pretty convinced, and she was actually pushing for Rubina to go ahead and do that move. However, the caveat was that they did not want to do it themselves. They only wanted to do it if Rubina or Kimo won HOH. And leading up to the double eviction, they kind of reiterated that it would not make sense for them to target MJ, especially because then one of them could not compete in the following HOH. So that led us into the double eviction, where, of course, Leah was evicted. And then we had another HOH competition where Chelsea won the HOH by a hair, and nominated Angela and Kimo. Kimo won the veto, and Chelsea did not make the move, as was discussed on MJ, instead replacing Angela with Rubina, where, of course, then Angela was subsequently evicted as well. And that's where we left off in the double eviction, Pooya.
Yeah, that's where everything ends. Kind of, I think a lot of people's wagers that last night were that outcome, with Angela following behind Leah. Of course, Angela getting very close with the tiebreaker HOH, but Chelsea pulls through. Whether or not she forgot a zero does not matter. She would have won regardless, because Angela put one too many zeros of her own. So that comp comes to an end. What's funny is initially the veto comp looked like it was going to be tough to me. It was a go ball through a hole 5 times. That seems to take too much. But they put those bowling bumpers up, and it looked very easy once you saw it play out once.
Yes. Very easy one. But still, skill focused enough that Kimo is able to take a pretty commanding lead there. So with Leah and Angela gone, MJ is still quite the target here. Cam and Chelsea now would likely just outright take the shot themselves. Rubina and Kimo certainly would as well. Of course, Chelsea's not playing. So the next HOH was between Cam, Kimo, MJ, and Rubina, with basically everyone targeting MJ. We believe it was the tiny HOH. And wouldn't you know it, MJ won the final 5 HOH, keeping her safe for one more week as she heads down to the final 4. Now, while this obviously saves her this week, it does put her in quite a precarious position next week, as she cannot win the final 4 HOH and be safe. And I would say that likely once again in the final 4, it's decent. There's decent chance that everyone is looking to evict her, but we'll see how she handles this HOH.
I mean, listen, while the strategy leaves a lot to be desired when it comes to Mackenzie, the one thing that is certain is that she is truly the queen of not knowing she's going to go up and winning safety, guaranteeing that she will not go out. So again, this is another instance. We've seen 2 AI arenas. This is another instance where she would have probably been cooked this week had she not won this. And she was able to maneuver it. Being able to stack the little pieces for that tiny HOH key, not a bad feat. Also, the battle she had combined with Rubina, Kimo, and Cam, there's 2 vetoes and 2 AI arenas, or 3 AI arenas. So not that many. No, 2 AI arenas. So the battlefield was relatively easier to scoop up, but again, a feat nonetheless.
So we were also told this is going to be BB Comics. If it's the normal BB Comics, it does tend to be a little bit more of a physical comp. Not so much so that it's impossible for anybody else to win, but there's a lot of, like running up stairs or climbing ladders and then coming down the zip line and then running back up and climbing up again. And so speed really does matter with that competition if it's unaltered. And that is significant because, of course, MJ's plan is to put up Kimo and Rubina, with Kimo as the target for what seems like the 5th week. So we'll see if it actually lands. But it seems like this time, surely it will land, as it seems unlikely that Kimo would win the BB Comics competition, and not a lot of incentive to change the plan here.
Yeah, I feel like once Kimo was discovered as the talent to get cast into the role of secondary pawn position behind Angela, it really became a case of, well, these are the easy noms, but we have another option in the back to put up there if someone wins or uses the veto. Whereas now, there's not really many options left. You put 2 up, you can put 1 more up, but that leaves you picking 1 person for absolute safety, 1 person up there more often than not as all right, well, you just have to take the spot and we'll keep you in here. So that's kind of where we're sitting here. I think that's kind of where everyone's predicting things to go for the week.
Mm-hmm. Also, it's worth considering that they might change up the BB Comics competition. They have done so before. And obviously, this season has been a lot better about more equitable competitions. Obviously, this week becomes a lot more interesting if it's a competition that Kimo is a bit more capable of winning. So, I don't want to get our hopes up, but like it's a non-zero chance nowadays with I was really impressed with the double eviction veto comp not being clown shoe. So, maybe.
I would say never. It's definitely possible. I feel like there's a big, easy way to make it a little more equitable, and that is, let's not have them zip line up and down multiple times. Let's not do that, and maybe something will give.
Maybe. Or I don't know. It's even something. It's honestly, it's as simple as like you only get to do your zip line once every like 2 minutes or something. So like you have to try. It makes it more down to memory. Like you really have to try to memorize as much as possible on your zip line, and then do a bunch of work, and then you have to just wait to do your next zip line. It makes it a lot less physical, a lot more mental, and just makes a lot of sense to me. Like there are so many easy ways to just make it a better comp. So we'll see.
Wait on it.
Okay. Well, MJ, of course, talks to Chelsea about the plan. Kimo and Rubina on the block, target Kimo. The idea would be for MJ to talk to Rubina about, hey, women, right?
Am I right?
Women.
Am I right?
Women should make the final 3 together. And of course, what MJ is worried about is the final 4 veto. That if Rubina, who they plan to keep, wins the final 4 veto, MJ cannot be safe via the final 4 HOH. So she is hoping that she can get Rubina to not evict her. I think in MJ's mind right now, it's hard to say exactly what goes through MJ's mind, but I think that in her mind right now, she feels like as long as Rubina doesn't win the Final Four HOH, uh, Cam would evict Rubina, Chelsea would evict Rubina, I would evict Rubina, and we'll be fine. The concern is, what if Rubina wins and I just put her up on the block and I took out Kimo? She's going to evict me. So how can I get Rubina to not evict me at the Final Four? And the idea would be to really push hard that she's not the target. She's being protected. Let's make a Final Three with her, women to the end.
So far, I agree with all of this. Having that concern for Final Four is good, despite it being a 1 in 4 chance of this outcome happening. I think it's important to think of the couple of outs that you perceive to be the only way you go out still, and try and plan around them. So I'm not mad at thinking ahead like that. I think that's very good, very safe. But let's move forward.
Uh, of course, she would need a replacement nominee if the veto were to be used, and she lets Chelsea know that she might have to go up, her or Cam, if that happens. Now, it would be fine because they would have one vote and a tiebreaker. It's not like Cam or Chelsea would leave, but hey, it might even make more sense to put Chelsea up to help hide their relationship if need be. And of course, Chelsea's not super fond of that idea, that it would be her. But MJ is, at this time at least, still like, yeah, just it might need to be one of you.
Which it might need to be, it will be one of you, because no one else is left in the damn house. There's 5 people.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, the interesting thing there is that whoever goes up, they will be, held together by some string and scotch tape. Basically, MJ's tiebreaker vote. So
That'll
it's a
be a
little
fun moment.
dangerous. It's a little not fun to be there, I think.
No, definitely that'll be an interesting outcome to have, because you'll have basically 2 sides feeding the HOH what they want to hear to get the outcome they want.
But the thing is, a lot of people are now pointing out, like, clearly MJ should take out Chelsea, right? Chelsea, the front runner, MJ should take the shot at Chelsea, take Chelsea out, which is, to some degree fair. But I feel like an issue with that plan is that, just to take over here real quick, an issue with that plan is that it does leave a duo in the Final Four, and she can't she can't win the HOH. And so if she takes a shot at Chelsea, right? Chelsea leaves, because she could put up, Kimo and Chelsea. Rubina keeps Kimo, Cam keeps Chelsea. She breaks the tie, she evicts Chelsea. That leaves her in such a vulnerable position at the Final Four. If Cam wins the HOH, there's almost nothing she can do. If Kimo or Rubina win that veto, she's gone. Even if Cam doesn't win the HOH, if Kimo or Rubina win that veto, she might be gone. Because she's just straight up so much bigger a threat than Cam is at the Final Three. Why would Kimo and Rubina evict Cam over you at the Final Four, when they can go to the Final Three with Cam, who hasn't won nearly as many competitions? So it just kind of is a tough spot there. And you could say, like, oh, well, better, she has better jury prospects, but the fact is she already got rid of her 2 best jury prospects in Leah and Angela. And so she's already in a bit of a tough spot. And if she really wants to cut Chelsea, I think the time now is to just win that Final 3 HOH, cut Chelsea, and take Cam. And I think that Cam might be a better shout for her in the Final 2, than Kimo or Rubina, given the fact that T-Core and the other of the trio vote for that person. So that's already 2 lost votes. If she has to betray Chelsea, who knows how Chelsea feels if Chelsea's going to vote for her. And things just get really messy. Like, Cam has a good relationship with Rubina. What if he feels like annoyed that she betrayed them and wants to vote for somebody like Rubina? Angela loves Kimo. That's a 3rd vote for Kimo probably in the Final 2. Like, it, or perhaps the 4th. Like, that's a tricky place to be. Against Cam, maybe there's a bit of a shot, especially if she's the one that cuts Chelsea, because you'd hopefully get like Leah, you'd get probably Quinn. You have the ability to get somebody like Kimo. It's. I feel like it's a little better. Um, Taking out Chelsea right now is just. I mean, it's fine, like it's just also it's not I don't think it's as bad a move as Chelsea taking out MJ. But I don't think it's like a slam dunk move. It certainly could work. And you could say like with Chelsea gone, there's the ability for like a lot of strategic maneuvering that could happen without Chelsea there. But I don't know that it's like a slam dunk move by any means.
Specifically for MJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the MJ Endgame is a fascinating one because I'm trying to figure out who could she win up against. And obviously Chelsea is someone who no one can win up against, most likely. So her leaving could help, but also at the same time, I think seeing the 4 people that just competed in this situation speaks for itself. The other 3, I think, will look at MJ as, well, she gonna win. We can't have that. She's not in my final 2 plans, so let's get rid of her.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, it might work out that way anyway, like, because because Cam and Chelsea are already looking at taking the shot at her. If they are both taking the shot at her at the final 4 anyway, then yeah, you might as well take out Chelsea just as your biggest comp threat, really. And then you can hope that with the duo there, Cam feels like he has no choice but to take you down to the final 3. I think there's a really good argument there, but it really just depends on like how the week plays out. If I'm the HOH here, I'm not mad at nominating Kimo and Rubina as initial noms, and then figuring out what happens with the veto. If one of them wins or you win, you have the chance to change this up depending on how this week is playing out and what the vibes are. Do you think that you are actually making progress with a Rubina Chelsea final 3 where Rubina might actually take out Cam next week? Do you feel like you've made enough progress with Cam and Chelsea that they're not taking the shot at you at final 4 and that they do want to go to the final 3 with you? Like actually think about those things instead of just assuming, and then make a judgment call once you've figured out what happens with the veto. Would be my plan, because you don't want to take a premature shot either.
Yeah, I feel like ultimately the number one thing, and I feel like Kevin Jacobs has spoken to this quite a bit, that you need at this stage of the game is recognizing and reading where your position is in this house more than anyone else's likelihood to win or anything. Because every scenario you just painted out, it all comes down to where am I in the game, where do I land with them? Because if you're thinking of yourself, I'm a comp beast, I can beat Janelle's record. What's Janelle's number? I can get there. Then you're probably thinking you've got this hook, line, and sinker if you make it to the end. And that might make you not really make the correct assessment of who should you be taking to the end or who should you be trying to take out when you get power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Of course, there's plenty of conversation with Cam about the plan. Chelsea and MJ do talk about their final 2 and how they'll get to the end together. MJ later tells Chelsea in the night that she is thinking about, like, okay, what if we go a step further? What if I win the veto, I use it on Rubina as like a play of like, hey, this is how true I am to this final 3, and then I put Cam on the block with the intention of still sending Kimo home. And I tell Cam, like, sorry, this is just for my game. I need to do this so that I can make further inroads with Rubina so she doesn't evict me at the final 4. Which is a plan that I hate, by the way.
It's not a plan. This is a classic overcook at final 5 here. If you're putting someone up on the block post veto only to keep them, you're not making amends with the person you initially nominated. More
exactly,
often than not.
because all this does is give Rubina hope that she can save Kimo. Like, if you put Cam on the block, then Rubina will be like, "Oh, great, MJ, you're really gonna evict Kimo over Cam?" Like, and she's gonna be campaigning and hoping that you break the tie in favor of evicting Cam all week long. And the last taste in her mouth is gonna be you going against her vote to break the tie and evict Kimo. You think that's gonna make her grateful to you? No. Keep her on the block and then promise her all week long that, hey, I'm sorry I had to do that, but don't worry. I'm keeping you over Kimo. I'm keeping you over Kimo. And the last thing you do in the week is you make sure that she stays over Kimo. Like, and all, at the end of the day, it's still not the best thing in the world because you're probably not going to be casting a tiebreaker vote there, but at least you're not casting a tiebreaker vote against her right before the HOH. This is just not the play unless your plan is to secretly go against Cam and take out Cam, but that's not the play either. It should be Chelsea if you're going to take a shot.
Yeah, I mean, all this does is put yourself in a position where, like you perfectly laid out, the false hope is going to happen because she's going to argue to you points to keep Kimo all week long. You're going to probably nod along and be like, yes, very good point, Rubina. You're doing very good in this game. I would like to work with you. And then you just don't. And then you have to sit there and watch her compete for HOH where she's probably going to want you out. Or if she wins the veto, she's probably going to want you out because she'll feel played. Like there's limited amount of days left and you don't want to make anyone feel like they're getting played right now. Also, not for nothing, I don't feel like Cam's gonna love this either.
No.
like he's not gonna love that. Okay, we seem to be a solid 3. We seem to be doing good, only for you to win it and then use it unnecessarily. So the only good thing that would come out of that, Taran, is the streak of the veto being used continues. That is the only good thing that comes out of that scenario.
Yeah. So we'll see. This was like a late night idea. We'll see if it actually goes through. It's such a wild move to make that there's a chance that because there's nobody that's going to be like actively pushing this, other than MJ just having the idea. Cam is obviously going to be like no. So I don't actually suspect that it will happen because why would it? But it was something that she was throwing out there. Obviously, the main points here, one more time, is that the veto will matter to some degree. If Kimo wins, that's the biggest result of the week. Kimo being the target. If he wins, takes himself off the block, things get much more interesting. Cam could be the replacement. Chelsea could be the replacement. With Rubina as the likely target for the renom, but like at that point, you are opening up the door for a sneaky, wait, maybe I should think about breaking the tie in a different direction and evicting either Chelsea or Cam. If Rubina wins the veto, similar thing, but with Kimo on the block as the intended target from the start, it's a little less likely that the target shifts. So that's really the bulk of it here. There's no reason for Cam or Chelsea to use the veto, hoping to get the other one on the block. They don't seem to intend to take that shot. Not it doesn't really benefit either of them unless Cam can actively get MJ to take Chelsea out. But I don't know exactly why he would want to do that right now. It's even less beneficial for Cam to want that duo in the final 4 at the moment. So, yeah.
Yeah, as fun as it would be to watch a non on the block person win the veto and then basically dictate who the replacement is and potentially orchestrate a move on that person, it just doesn't benefit the people that are not on the block at the moment, is the way I stand. Now, Taran, I know we're about to wrap up, and I know this is a live feed update. We haven't talked about something in a minute, and I want to get your feelings on this. I feel like I want to ask you here, right now. If Kimo wins this veto, and Rubina does truly leave, you will have all 3 of your draft picks in the final 4, and you're probably not going to win. That must feel weird.
Shannon, eat your heart out. Yeah, I mean, it's genuinely all season long, like week after week. It's like, okay, this is the week I'm finally losing a draft pick, and then something happens. This feels like surely the week where nothing's gonna happen, and it's finally gonna be lost. But even so, even with Kimo leaving, I'll have 2 out of 4, which is which is wild.
Look pretty damn good. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been an interesting ride. But yeah, very interesting to have 3 people, and none of them are super likely to win at the moment.
It's must be really tough. But hey, Amon ain't winning, so my life's fine.
All right. Anything else, Pooya?
Not really. 2 HOH baskets last night. A letter from one's brother for Mackenzie, but nothing really otherwise. I feel like, again, kind of a run of the mill result with the run of the mill nomination plans. All eyes on veto, but this is kind of standard for the end game usually. It's kind of where we are.
All right. Well, that is what we have for you then today. I will be back very shortly, just like 10 or so minutes for the Q&A. Early in the morning, I'll be live with Rob, answering your questions about the season, about the week, about the HOH. So stay tuned for that. If you have some questions, Rob and I will be taking your calls. And then, of course, tomorrow morning, I'll be back, live feed update, 11 a.m. Eastern, and we'll keep it moving here. Only a little bit more time left in this, just over 2 weeks left in this season. So we're really coming up on the end game here. Check out the Circle coverage that we're doing as well, Pooya and I. What a fun season of the Circle. The third batch of episodes dropped this week, and it's been a wild ride. So check all of that out, and check out all the scripted coverage we got going on We Know Scripted TV. Pooya, what do you got going on?
Well, aside from The Circle, I have 90 Day Fiance. Jason Reed was my guest this week. Liana and I premiered Masked Singer Season 12 this week. We had a huge announcement in there, so if you check that out if you haven't yet, see what that was all about. And Traders Canada premiered this week as well. Myself and Scally had a good time talking about the premiere. It was nice. It's been nice to see Netta back on our screens again after a long hiatus. So I've been very happy with that. And of course, when I'm not podcasting, I can be found streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/Pooya. I'll be live tonight at 10 p.m. with the pads to come through for that. Or find me on Twitter at Pooyaism.
All right. Well, that is what we have for you then. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. And I will see all of you next time.